you feel in your lifetime, you know, the role of women has changed in society?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, when I was a kid, you know, my mother, I was brought up in the northeast, so even in the northeast, even nowadays in the northeast, there does tend to be a little bit more of a traditional attitude towards women, but you know, it's still changed quite a lot. I mean, you know, if you go back sort of 35, 40 years, there was much more of a tendency for the woman to expect to be the housewife and not working at all. So I think to that extent it has, and certainly there's a lot more equality than there used to be, but expectations, you know, with increased involvement, expectations become higher, and those expectations are not always being met, I'd say.
I think certainly in my lifetime it has changed a lot compared to my mother's generation. She stayed at home and looked after the kids while my dad went out to work, and he didn't really have a role at all in parenting. But now I think that women in their 30s, like me, or older and younger, will have much more of a balancing act when it comes to parenting, but also trying to maintain their careers.
What do you feel are the most pressing issues for women today?
I think one of the pressing issues that I face as a woman in the workplace is probably childcare and balancing maternity rights, maternity leave, and sharing that with my husband.
We were saying earlier, I think women in the workplace, there's lots of gender inequality. I think it's very, very hard for women to excel forwards and go to those higher posts without having to shout louder than what, say, a man would have to do. I used to be in the military, and I saw that for myself, but I've seen more misogyny outside of an institution like the military as well, because I think it's actually got worse recently in the workplace.
Yes, I think in terms of equality, we're not really there yet, because we're having to address the fact that we're women. So the fact that there's a Women's Day and that we're having to talk about the fact that we're women and how that affects us means that just highlights that, you know, that there is an issue.
Who do you feel is an inspirational woman for women today?
I think for women of colour, Oprah Winfrey is a very good role model.
Why do you feel that she is?
She is warm and loving, and she gives you hope.
Well, you could say Malala. She's been in the news quite a lot recently. She's quite an inspirational woman.
I think young women are, because I think we have hope for a new generation and future voices that are able to set a precedence and actually undo a lot of the mess that's been made. And I think our local MP in Walthamstow, Stella Creasy, is really inspiring and really championing lots of issues about equality, and
No, I'd agree with that actually, because I think young women, this younger generation now, are aware, very much aware of their needs addressing, probably more than my age group. So I think that it's become much more widespread.
More of a feminist awakening within young women, I think, now than there was when I was a teenager.
Yeah, definitely.
I think someone like Harriet Harman has done so much for women's rights. She's been a really key campaigner on the issue of maternity leave, the cost of childcare, which is so often a barrier to women returning to the workplace, because when it takes up most of your salary, it's sometimes difficult to think about returning to work. So someone like her, who's had a really successful career, but has also championed the rights of other women while she's done it, has been a role model to me.
I think the role models that a lot of younger people would choose, younger women would choose, would be, you know, celebrities, people like Beyonce, and I don't really think they're the role models. I think, you know, for me, the role models should be probably going to come up with, find it difficult to come up with specifics, but you know, there should be more likely people in business, people in charity.
As it's International Women's Day today, do you feel we could do more to perhaps commemorate it?
I didn't know anything about it, I have to say, other than I've just come out of the Southbank Centre and there's a big deal going on there. You know, in fact, I think is it going on all week, the International Women's Day?
I believe so, yes.
The celebration of international women, and I knew nothing about it really, other than what's happening in there. So I think the answer is yes, certainly from my perspective.
I think already events like the WOW Festival are doing brilliantly to draw attention to a lot of women's issues, like domestic abuse, like rape, like equal pay for women. So drawing attention to that and then having like celebrities involved, like Annie Lennox, is fantastic. And I think it's also about recognising that there are other women who have different struggles to yourself. I'm here tonight for the Women on the Move Awards, and that's celebrating the achievements of migrant and refugee women, and often they've fled from violence and persecution, and against the odds they've overcome those difficulties, and they are now giving back to their communities and making a positive difference. So there are so many unsung heroines, and it's great that something like International Women's Day is recognising those achievements.